Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Teresa, this is Lost My Thread. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience of creating some vinyl transfers on t-shirts using the Cricut Joy. I got the Cricut Joy for Christmas. It's this little guy. It's very small, very compact and easy to use. I got it for Christmas and I thought it'd be really fun to create some t-shirt designs. But I felt like whenever I was looking around on YouTube and on the internet to see how you make these things, I felt like all I was seeing were the experiences of people who were sponsored by Cricut, who've been given their things for free, had sponsored posts, and I felt like it wasn't very representative of what it might be like for me, just a regular person, to be making these t-shirts. So I thought, if I do it, I want to share my experience with you guys, and that is why I'm here today. So this is not a tutorial video, it's really more of a review. I just want to talk about my process as a beginner of trying to make these designs and put them on t-shirts. I will put some links down below to some videos that I found really helpful and helped me to know what I was doing when I was starting out. The main thing I will say is that you get an app where you can create your designs, and you can do that on a phone or on a computer. I feel like the computer works better if you're thinking about, say, a t-shirt design, because you can actually insert images onto a template t-shirt. You can choose men's, women's, and children's. You can choose different sizes. I mean, it's a very basic template. You do have to use your imagination. It's not going to be all shapes and sizes of t-shirts, but it gives you a pretty good idea of like the thickness of the line, the size of the design, and the proportions for the t-shirt. As far as the images that you put onto it, so you can use their designs. There are some free ones. There are quite a few that you have to pay for individual designs, but you can put your own design on there as well, which is what I wanted to do because I wanted to make it my own creative vision. And so what I ended up doing was using another program to do a little bit of drawing. I exported that file as an image file, and then I just imported it into the Cricut app, and that works pretty well. You can even remove some background on there, so if you wanted, like I did, just more like the outline of a design rather than having some kind of full backing, because I was looking for a single color that I was going to use for the laminate. I wasn't going to be able to create these really complex designs. On the app, you can say which Cricut you have. I've got the Cricut Joy, which is the smallest one, but the main thing is whichever one you input, it will then give you an idea if it's going to fit on the laminate. If it's too big, it will give you a little exclamation point so that you know that you need to readjust the size. I will say that because I had the smallest one, I had to think a little bit more creatively about how to make the design. I got this tip from another YouTuber, but if you have an image that's quite large and is too big for fitting onto the t-shirt, if you can break it into smaller parts, then each of those can cover the width of the laminate, and then you can get a larger design by overlapping them when you actually put them on the t-shirt. So this is what they call the Smart Iron-On. So this is what you use for the Cricut Joy. It is 5.5 inches by 24 inches, which is 13.9 centimeters by 60.9 centimeters. So you have this really long strip that you can use. So any design, as long as it's not wider in any direction on this way, when you go to print it out, the Cricut Design app will try and arrange it so that you can get as much as possible on the page. One thing I will say is when I first printed these out, I printed onto the shiny side, or I cut onto the shiny side, which is the backing. The laminate is more of like a matte side, so I ended up having to flip it over and cut it on the other side. Beginner error, but I just mention it so that hopefully you guys will make the same mistake. When I was figuring out my design for the t-shirts, I wanted some simple lines. I really like geometric shapes, and I particularly have a thing for triangles. I really like triangles overlapping with other triangles, creating different triangles. You don't have to get it, it doesn't have to be your thing, but I just wanted to talk about why I made the designs that I did. So I had a couple of designs that I made with triangles, and one that I wanted to make that was a bit of a nod to sewing. I'll start with telling you about the triangle designs that I made first. So this one, you can see it is lots of triangles overlapping on other triangles. As I described, I do really like that. I feel like on the whole, the transfer went on pretty smoothly. So I don't have a special press that is designed by Cricut. A lot of the videos, when you watch people making these, they have a special, it's like an iron, but it's a big rectangle and it pushes down. I'm not buying extra special products. You can definitely do this with a home iron, and I found a tutorial of how to do that. The key thing I would say with a home iron is you want to be applying pressure as well as the heat, so it's better to do it on like the floor or a firm table on towels rather than on a springy ironing board that you're not going to be able to get that same pressure onto. And when you are pushing the iron on, you need to hold it on for 3 minutes, no steam, full linen setting. I will say that on the whole, it came off really well. It feels to me and looks to me honestly like a t-shirt that I would buy in the shop. I was pretty impressed. When I've used other Cricut things that are more like a sticker, they don't seem like they're gonna last as long. Supposedly this is supposed to last for 50 plus washes, and it's better to wash it inside out. So I haven't washed it, so I can't comment on how it's gonna wash and wear over time, but I think it's really effective. I think it came out really well on the t-shirt. I felt like it was just so much fun to create the design. I made this one by just drawing on another app, and then I exported that image and put it into the Cricut design app. And it was just really fun to get to see that image come to life on the t-shirt. I really enjoyed the process. This is my other triangle geometric design. So this one, you can see I used two different colors of laminate. So I used a pink and I used a white, which was a really nice contrast on this charcoal gray t-shirt. Again, I've got some triangles overlapping triangles because it's my thing. I feel like this has a bit of a mountain vibe to it as well. It was just fun playing around with different ideas of how I could create different shapes and overlap them. This is an example of where I took the wider triangles. I actually had multiple triangles in a row on my laminate. I cut them out and then I overlapped them and ironed them on one by one to create the full design. And I love the way it looks. I feel like it doesn't necessarily look like a DIY t-shirt. It looks like a design that maybe I've downloaded, but I created it. It was just really fun to be able to actually create an image from nothing, and I think it turned out really cool. For my final design, I wanted to have something that was a bit of a nod to sewing, but didn't necessarily say I sew on the front of a t-shirt. And I think I came up with a fun one. This is what I call my deconstructed Concord Tee. So this is the pattern pieces from the Concord Tee by Cashmerette. All of these t-shirts are the Concord Tee by Cashmerette because it is just my absolute go-to favorite t-shirt. So these are the actual pattern pieces from the line drawing, what they look like for the parts of a t-shirt. If you sew, you're gonna know what it is straight away, but I love that it's actually the same t-shirt. So it's got like the curve shape of the Concord Tee. It felt really appropriate for this t-shirt. Now, because this is not my image, this is actually the line drawings from the pattern. I did email Cashmerette to ask them if they were okay with me using their image because I wanted to be able to share it and I don't want to share their image without their permission. They were totally fine with it. They thought it sounded like a really fun idea and said they couldn't wait to see how it turned out. So if you are using somebody else's image, it's definitely best to ask permission first, especially if you're going to be sharing it around, putting it out on social media. You don't want to get yourself in trouble. But more importantly for myself, I felt like it would be nice to be able to thank the designer for the design because they were the ones essentially who gave me the image for it, even if it wasn't their idea. So as far as what I liked about this whole process, I feel like using the Cricut is really easy, making the design on the app was really easy, printing it out generally was really straightforward apart from my little boo-boo of cutting it out on the wrong side, but that's on me, that's not on Cricut. I'm sure they told me that I needed to put it on the matte side or the laminate side. I also feel like making the design on the t-shirt, it was really easy. I did have a really cool guide that my mother-in-law had given me that you can use to line up and make sure things are straight on a t-shirt, but I also saw a really useful tip of folding a t-shirt in half so that you have a nice crease going down the front, and that helps you just to line things symmetrically from left to right. But I felt like it was pretty easy to put everything on. It transferred on pretty well. I did make a bit of a mistake though, again, on one of the t-shirts where I forgot to actually let it cool down before I took the backing off. So you are pressing it with a hot iron and then it needs to cool completely before you pull that plastic backing to allow it to stick a little bit better. But again, this is just beginner error. This isn't through the Cricut. This is just for me making mistakes and figuring out what I'm doing. But even then, you can just put the iron on over the top again, heat it a bit more to let it really melt into the fibers of the cloth, and then you can pull the backing off and you're good to go. So I certainly didn't lose that t-shirt. It was just me having to make mistakes and figure it out as I went. I think my favorite part of the process though, honestly, was just seeing my t-shirts come to life. It was really fun to figure out what designs I wanted to put on there, doing a little bit of doodling and imagining, having the template to be able to put that onto the design app to get some idea of what it was going to look like. But when it actually came onto the t-shirt and I pulled that backing off and I saw my t-shirt with the design that I had imagined, it was so creatively fulfilling, guys, honestly. If you are somebody who sews and you make your own t-shirts and you are someone who likes to wear a graphic tee, I think it is just such a fun way to just make each t-shirt really your own. And I really do want to play around with this a lot more. I have other ideas whirring in the background of things that I want to have printed on a t-shirt, and I think it looks so effective. As far as what I didn't like about the process, I felt like when I was trying to find information and tutorials about how to use iron-on transfers On YouTube, I was absolutely inundated with videos of people who had sponsored content, who had been either paid or given free things by Cricut to create their videos. And I feel like as informative and helpful as they can be, you just don't know how much you can trust those videos because they're basically creating an ad. They are promoting the product. So they're going to want to tell you it's good, even if it's not that good. The other thing that I found just frustrating was as far as ironing on my transfer, Cricut tells you across the board you have to use their special press. You don't. You can use any old household iron, but it was not easy to actually find information about how to do that. So I just didn't appreciate having to really dig and work my way through videos to be able to work out how to just do an iron-on transfer with an iron, as the name would suggest. So bearing all of that in mind, as far as my overall feeling about the process, I really enjoyed using my Cricut Joy to make these t-shirts. So I will say for myself, I enjoyed the process of designing. I enjoyed putting it onto the t-shirt. I love having these t-shirts that are my own unique design, which is just so creatively satisfying, but also knowing that I'm the only person with these t-shirts because I created this design. There is nobody else in the world who's gonna have the same t-shirt as me. As far as whether or not you would be interested in buying one of these and making these, I think you need to just consider the price. So think about the price of the machine, the price of each of those iron-on transfer sheets when you're using them, and then thinking for you whether that is worth it. Obviously, you can do more with the Cricut machine. This is not really what they're only designed for. That's just one of the small things that they do. If I was just going to be making them for iron-on transfers, I probably wouldn't feel that it was worth the money of getting one. But because you can do so much else, making cards and stickers and laminates and other things, I feel like for me, having this as an extra is just really what tips it over the edge of a product that I am super excited to have, super excited to play around with more, and I will definitely be making more graphic tees and they will be coming to my YouTube channel in the future. So you'll have to tell me what you think of the t-shirts that I designed. I would also really love to hear about your personal experiences if you have used iron-on transfers, if you've used the Cricut, specifically the Cricut Joy, to create those designs. I want to know, what are you guys putting on your t-shirts? I want to hear suggestions of things that I can put on my t-shirts. It's just really fun to have that little extra level of creativity in the garments that I'm making. I really hope you enjoyed hearing about my experience of using the Cricut Joy to make the iron-on transfers. Please make sure you give me a like if you did enjoy it. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel if you want to see more sewing content in the future, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!